Pixel here, Improbable Garage. We're working on the cube. I'm going to be doing some just random detail stuff that I've been wanting to do. I know I said I wanted to work on this, but today that's not really a possibility because it's just barely misting outside, which means I can't use the Master Series paint, which is the next thing that needs to happen on that roof rail. And I can't pull the car out, turn it around, and pull it back in, which is what I would need to do to work on the rust in the back window because there's exposed metal on it right now. So we're going to skip that for today. We're going to play around the cube. This is going to be a bunch of random stuff that none of this is one whole video's worth, so it's a bunch of random stuff so that I can get it all done and you can see it all. It's going to be basically, now that I've gotten this finished, I want to add details all over the car that I've kind of been putting off. Some of this is going to be things I've been planning for a while. Some of this is going to be experimenting with stuff. We'll see. I added these hood vents a while back. Always planning to add more detail if I liked them, and I do like them, so the more detail is coming now. I do want to put lights behind them, but what I've been looking for is like a red chase light that will just cycle. Turns out that's surprisingly difficult to acquire. I can get ones for turn signals, but the problem with that is when you apply power, it'll chase once and then stop because it expects the turn signal flasher to keep cycling it. I'd rather not do a circuit that involves adding a whole turn signal flasher just to make that work. So I just put it off for now. Eventually we'll get back to it when I find a better solution. If anybody has a good solution, I basically just need a 12 volt, I don't know, 8. I'm a guy, I can't measure something that length. 7 inches, yeah, see, always overestimate. I need something about 6-7 inches that'll go behind here that'll do just a one directional chase pattern. Preferably red, amber would be okay. Green, but like, honestly, any color would work. It just needs to stay that color because the thing I can find easily is strips of chase that do the RGB, kind of like what I've got underneath, but they're really simple ones that'll just cycle through all the colors. And I don't want a whole remote that controls this and whatnot. I just want it to be something I can apply 12 volts to, and it'll just do a consistent chase pattern. The directionality is kind of important just for the aesthetic that I want, because I want it to look like something spinning under there and just happens to be showing through. But anyway, what we're going to do now, for now, is add a bunch of detail around this, so these aren't just kind of floating in the hood. And what I decided I want to do is basically do a big safety warning thing here. To that end, this will not show up on camera, I guarantee you, but I've printed out caution plasma may vent on my Cricut. I'm going to turn that into a stencil, not a sticker, and I'm going to paint a white stripe down the center of this, lay those out on top. Actually, no, I'm not going to. That's the best way to do this. Do I want a stencil or do I want to? Well, it's going to be a stencil either way, but what I'm trying to figure out is, do I want a stencil that's the letters and I paint around the letters, or do I want a stencil that's the holes? I paint over the holes. I think I want the letters because that'll be actually easier to line up. So yeah, I'm going to paint a white stripe. That's going to be the color of the letters, and then we're going to lay them out, and then we're going to put a whole pattern on. I believe in red is what I decided on. I need to mask that off, clean that off, mask that off, and put the first coat of paint on that so I can jump to something else. All right, I ended up doing that in gray because I decided I wanted it to be less bright than full white. I don't know why. I've done other things in white. Actually, no, I think I did that already too. So actually that'll work. That's now going to dry because I got to stick letters on top of it. I just realized I probably should have done this a while back and just left it, but whatever. Next thing, before I swapped out these wheels, I had the hubcaps on there, and the one wheel where I lost the hubcap, I painted it that poisonous green and drew the smiley face with X's on it. And I wanted to maintain that image somewhere. These wheels aren't well suited to me just painting that on one of the wheels, even if I wanted to, just because of the way that these are shaped. There's no good place for that. But I've also been bothered by the fact that this oil cooler is kind of bland. So I've decided, easiest solution, pull this oil cooler out, and I'm going to paint that on there. What I'm going to do is paint the face in the poison green, not the whole thing. And I'm also, at the same time, probably going to do a tiny bit of dry brushing or something just to bring out the details and make that thing also look a little more beat up so it's more visible and less black there. So I got to figure out how I got that in so I can get it out. And there we are. Just another little detail. I like that. I did try going in with some sandpaper to, instead of dry brushing, just actually remove the material. But I don't quite think it worked as well as I thought. It looked better on the bench. So I may still have to come in and do some more of that. But yeah, that's good. That's now got some detail on it, so it disappears less. Next thing is these hoses I want to change a little bit. Details! Always more details. So I have this split loom stuff that was on some of those wire bundles that I got. I think I've got a little more of it. But I was thinking about putting it basically on this section, these two sections here. I actually thought this stuff was, look at this thicker. Can I wrap both of them in it? Yeah, okay. So I can wrap both of those in that right there. What I wanted to do is look like heat protective wrap. So I think I'm going to take this stuff, wrap it around something that holds it open enough I can see all of it, and then I want to spray some color on it to make it look more like the exhaust wrap stuff, the really high-end stuff, so sort of a silvery gold. I think that works. I'm not trying to cover the copper, but I'm trying to dull the copper part of it down a little. I realized I didn't want it to look gold because I hate gold. There we go. All done. These are just stainless steel cable ties from Harbor Freight, but they help sell that heat shield illusion because you wouldn't use plastic cable ties on heat shield. And just adds another element, another bit of confusion as to like, why does this need to be heat shielded? But only there. As I'm sure you've noticed, I may have even mentioned on this, one of my things with this project is I want the longer somebody looks at the car, the more questions they have, the less answers they have. I want it to look strange and unusual, and I want things to be inexplicable on it. So the idea of like, I have no idea why that's there, that means I'm doing my job right. All right, that's all set. I got my heat shield up there. I got my smiley face painted on there. I put 2 new clamps on because they were all rusty. Those are stainless ones, so they'll look better hopefully for a while. So let's get back to our hood. Hopefully this is dry enough that I can stick things to it without it peeling up. All right, well, the rest of this may look different. Hopefully it looks halfway decent, because as soon as I finished filming that bit and set up to time-lapse the stuff on the hood, the camera fell over and shattered the lens. So you have the lens right now off of the camera that I drove over in the yard with the van, which is only slightly fucked. I need to order more lenses. I've worked through several of them at this point and a few cameras. But anyway, I'm going to set you up to time-lapse and I'm going to work on the hood. All right, well, it didn't come out super great. I put too much red on because I was trying to get it, the nozzle wasn't spraying evenly. I switched out for another nozzle, which was spraying better, but still not evenly. So to get a complete red stripe, I ended up having to put a bunch on, and then got too impatient about taking it off, messed up a spot, put more on, and then it was even thicker, and then I realized, I got to get this off because it's going to get trapped under the red paint. Because I've put so much on. So unfortunately, because the gray was also not super dry, there's a lot of damage in here. But the way I'm going to take care of that is once this has fully dried, once this is no longer soft, I'm going to go in and do some judicious sanding to basically age that and hide all that damage. But still, it got the look I wanted. Like, from far enough away, it looks fine. It looks perfectly fine. Close enough, it looks okay. I definitely need to go in and touch up the gray more than the red, actually. But I like that look. And then I need to, so I'm going to go in and add some more detail, but this is almost out of battery. All right, had to charge the battery while I was doing this, but mark this all out. And I'm going to shoot this with the red. I'm going to try and do this with a very thin coat of the red, in hopes that it'll be easier to sand back for that aging effect. I taped over this. That may be a complete disaster. We'll find out. But since I was having those issues with it, if I have to redo it, it is what it is. So let's shoot that with some red. All right, let's see what we got. All right, check that out. That looks freaking amazing. So yeah, peeled everything back, lost a little bit extra up here. I can fix that. There's a slight stripe to the center of it. But again, since I'm going to be sanding a bunch of this back, not going to be worried about it. I did a quick bit of spray with the black because that black spray from before was underneath. It would have looked weird. So that kind of took care of that. Peeled it up, cleaned it all up, wiped off some overspray here and there. Fuck yeah, that looks great. I'm so happy with that. Like, I kind of love the idea that it has the offset racing stripe, but it turns out it's a warning about something. So yeah, done. Awesome. All right, next thing. This has a daytime running light function that's currently not hooked up because it's its own circuit. What I've decided I'm going to do with it is on the back, I have a circuit, a bonus circuit that runs the little accent light down the center of this. So what I've decided I'm doing is I'm just going to put that on the same circuit. And what that means is hook up one of the wires I already have running to the front to it, because it's already got a ground through the other circuit. So just need to run one of those wires to it, find that wire on the inside, hook it into the same circuit that's running that one in the back, and then boom, good. Slight complication there is going to be the connector that I added. I'm not going to be able to pin it in for two reasons. One, I can't find my depinning tools. Those have vanished into the ether of the garage. And two, the two wires will be too thick to fit into the connector. So I think I'm going to have to just cut the wire that comes out of the connector on the connector side and splice it in there. I'm not happy about that, because the whole point of me putting the connector in there was to not have to heat splices in there, but we'll figure it out. And then the other thing that I'm going to be doing up here lighting wise is, so this front grille that I just built, I talked about having a plan for it. That plan was that I was going to put blue acrylic, because I happened across a free sheet of blue acrylic. I was going to put blue acrylic behind it and then put lights behind it. The lights I acquired were these, the local auto parts store that have this tester attached, so I've been playing with them, but they're just long strips. I figured if I mounted those at the back facing forward and scuffed the back of the blue acrylic a little bit, that'd give this a whole sort of glow here. So I was playing around with mounting them, and I got an even better idea. So let me see if I can show you that. Might be a little hard. So, like I said, I was playing around with these. The plan was to just make a long metal strip and figure out some way to attach it as close to the radiator support as possible. But the other day I was playing around with, like, well, what if I mounted it to the underside of the hood? What if I mounted it somewhere else? Because I was afraid that I'd end up with a blue line there. And in the process of that, one of the things I tried, and I have no idea how well this is going to show up on camera, was to put it here facing back. And what it kind of does is ends up lighting up all of the stuff behind there. And not just a blue glow, but a blue glow kind of from below. That gives it a really weird, like, it's hard to identify the things in there because it's such a strange color and angle and whatnot. And the more I look at that, the more I think I really like that. Just like that. Don't put the blue acrylic in, just put these in facing back like that. And let this whole area just be vaguely blue. I think that'll look really interesting. And it should be pretty easy. I just have to, in theory, stick these to the back of this somewhere where they fit nicely. And then this, I need to take this apart, make sure that these run off of standard 12 volts, that there's not like a resistor or something in here stepping them down. I don't think there will be, but if there isn't, then that'll be nice and easy. I'll just take these and crimp them together, put the ground on one end, hook the other end to one of those wires that already ran, and should be pretty easy. I like that a lot. It's more subtle, I think, than the camera's picking it up. You see the grill a lot more in person than you do apparently in the camera. But yeah, that looks good. I'm just going to make it be less janky than this. All right, I don't know if that boot process for the light is showing up or if it's just blown out, but that's now working on the same circuit as the one in back. The blue lights now have their own circuit. What I ended up doing is, for this it was nice and easy because there was already a spade connector here. I just ran one of those wires over, plugged it in. That's already goes to the front. For this, because I want to be able to take this grill off, I added a connector that's hooked to ground and power, another one of those wires that leads in. I chose to use a 4 because if I ever add anything else to this grill, I want the ability to also remove that without having to have multiple connectors. Plus I'm running low on the 2s and 3s. So that's that end. And down in this mess over here, I haven't labeled things yet. This connector is the one that goes to the back with all the wires pre-run to it. So I just pinned in. So this is the wire that, this right here is the wire that goes to the switch for that blue light. I'm also planning to put those in the rear grill. So I split it out. This one's going into the rear connector. There's already a wire in over there, and then over here goes into this one that I just made for the front connector. This wire, which is for that rear detail light, got split out, also run into the front connector. This is all going to need to get labeled, obviously. I have some wiring cleanup to do in here. I should have trimmed this wire much shorter, but it didn't occur to me until after I'd already made stuff. These are all the other wires that are coming from the front. Realistically, they need to go into either this connector or something like it, because right now they're just kind of all over the place. I really need to clean this up. But right now, for this exact second, I'm just glad everything works. I think I'm going to call that a night, because, hey, everything's functional that I wanted it to be. I'm really happy with all that. That actually is a pretty dramatic change to the front end. We've got details over here that weren't there. Got this up here, that detail light's now working. The whole grill, like this is the thing I can just leave on and it'll just glow and look cool. This looks freaking amazing over here. This came out so good and makes the front end so much more interesting already, because that hood was always kind of bland. The vents helped, but not much. This just adds a whole new thing to it. And then, like I said, once this paint has had a good chance to dry, I'm going to come in and do a little bit of distressing on it, just like I want to do distressing on everything else. So the one thing I've got left that I want to do connected to all of this is I want to put a blue light in here. I have another one of those sets, but I think I'm going to have to do a little more looking, because I'm going to want to find a blue light I can put behind this as well, so that that's blue like it should be, but then this little grill is also blue. But I'll either catch that another day or in another video, depending on when I decide to cut this. If I'm cutting it now, then we're going to say thank you all very much for watching, and have a good night. Bye.